Welcome to the Tuning In podcast, where we talk alignment, intuition, and our internal guidance system. We cover woo-woo topics in an approachable and practical way. I'm your host, Dana Evans of alignful.com. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tuning In podcast. Today, we have a short and sweet episode where I am just talking to you about a fun little alignment that happened in my life. And I really want to share more of these because I feel like we get stuck in the storyline of, I'm disconnected, I don't know what's going on, everything's working against me, nothing ever works out. Constantly, right? Maybe you've had those thoughts for yourself. Maybe you've heard other people talk about that. And it's really easy to get in the mindset and the flow of being out of flow, of things aren't working, of life is hard for me. And what I see it with my clients, I see it with myself, is that beautiful, magical, aligned things are constantly happening in life. They're constantly happening. If we can slow down enough, if we can slow the stressed thinking brain down enough to actually see them, then we actually are able to experience the magic as it is there right in front of us. So it's not that we're needing to find magic, right? It's not that we need to reconnect. It's that we need to shed that layer, the mind layer of story that says there is no magic, that says we are disconnected. Because at the core, we are magical, we are in flow, and we are so connected to self and really to all that is. We're connected to each other, right? We have all of these synchronicities that are flowing in life, but we can't see them. Or we're too stuck in the story to see how they're actually a synchronicity, right? We see things as individual, disconnected, like this is my bicep, this is my glute muscle, this is my toe, this is my mind, this is the brain, this is the heart. But ultimately, it's an entire system. So you can look at a single part, or you can look at the connection of the whole. And that's life. So here's the story. If you follow me on Instagram, it's at Dana_Evans. I've actually been really quiet there the past couple weeks. I haven't really felt like sharing a ton. And yeah, I've slowed down a lot with my consumption as well of social media. Funny enough, that had been happening. And yesterday I watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix. Again, nothing like groundbreaking that we don't kind of know, but I think just to look at that and remind yourself, we don't need to connect through disconnection, right? Often they were saying that social media, gosh, the poor Gen Z, I'm sorry, Gen Z, they're so in it that they were giving all these stats for the rates of anxiety, that they actually are more fearful to do things in real life. They have fewer relationships and aren't dating. The rate at which they're getting their driver's license, which, ultimate freedom, is dropping. So there's a lot of really alarming stats that are happening with this younger generation because they're trying to connect, right, through social, and they're not seeing the connection with all else, right, with animals, with the earth, with the sky, with the cycles of spring, summer, fall, winter, with the cycles within their own bodies, women with our menstrual cycles, with the ebbs and flows of life, the highs and lows. It's like, no, everything lives on the screen, and the screen, it numbs us. It neutralizes. It disconnects. Oh, that just gave me chills. This wasn't meant to be part of this episode, but it is all connected. Of course it is, right? Everything is connected. So it just happens that I watched that yesterday in bed yesterday afternoon. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to go on a bike ride. I left my phone at home, and I jumped on my bike and rode around in the gorgeous sunshine. Oh, got my lungs moving, got vitamin D on my skin, and now I'm congested. I literally was woken up by sneezing this morning. I think I was out quite a bit yesterday, and I think I got some allergies now. So to bring this back where we started is I was watching The Social Dilemma. It took me outside, but as I was outside, I was reflecting on my week and just looking at all these synchronicities. And on my social media, Dana_Evans, I did share last week on Monday this story of the bunny. I called it Small Bunny, Big Impact. And this was a raw moment of me just wanting to share. And then so much has unfolded after that. And so I wanted to actually connect the dots. I'll tell the story here on the podcast, and then I will connect the dots of what unfolded after that. So Wednesday morning, woke up early. It was kind of like a crazy morning. John's friend was coming, or our friend was coming. And so I got up early. We were cleaning the toilets and just getting the house ready to receive a guest. And then I had to jump on a coaching call. And then while I was doing that, John went outside to go jump my car because we were going to have to be leaving at the same time, going separate places. My car was dead. So then I got off my coaching call and I was like, man, that's so nice. He's doing this without me telling him to, without him waiting for me to help him. And I was really happy. So I went outside to go check in on him. And oh my God, it was so stressful. The lawnscapers were there and they were leaf blowing right next to us. I'm like, shut up. This is so annoying. I was really triggered. And so I'm trying to talk to John. I can't hear him. I'm like, all right, I'll come back. I went to go take the trash can in. And then right next to our driveway was this little bunny, or he was in our driveway, huddled up next to the wall. And I was like, hey, buddy, are you okay? And I actually have a video because I was like, oh, I want to send him to my friend Elizabeth, who has bunnies. And I didn't want to take the trash can in because I thought I'd scare him, but he was just huddled and hovered. And I was like, oh no. So I went and told John. John's like, okay, well, we got to finish with your car and then we'll go deal with the bunny. I'm like, okay. So Bunny's there. We get my car going. I have to drive around the block. My battery is so dead. And then we come back and then John's like, oh my gosh, yeah, what's going on with this guy? And I'm like, I don't know. So we're trying to talk to him and he's just kind of cowering. And so I was like, well, maybe I should call the vet. And so I went in to go get my phone to call the vet. And I come back out and now the bunny's lying down and John's with him. John's hanging with him. And I was like, oh my God, I literally just burst into tears then. I just started hysterically crying. And John said, he's alive. He's breathing. So I was, so worried about this bunny. So I go inside and I call the vet and they send me to another vet. They're like, they'll help with wild animals. So I told them, they're like, yeah, bring the bunny in. I'm like, okay. So I come back out and John had been with the bunny and I just knew, I just kind of knew. Actually, when I first saw him hovered, I'm like, this is not good. John didn't have that same awareness, but he's like, I don't know what's going on. So then he went in because he had to go take a shower to go for the next stop. And I was hanging with the bunny and I decided to bring him to the vet. So I made a little bin for him. I got some garden gloves. And as I was preparing that, I saw him, he starts kicking. And I was like, oh my God, am I scaring him? Is he going to run away? So I go over to him and then I put my hand on him and I was crying this whole time. I'm like, it's okay, buddy. You're going to be okay. You're not alone. You're not alone. And I was so overwhelmed with love for this little tiny creature. All I could say was, I love you. 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 It's making me cry right now. And just holding my hand to him. And then it's done. he left, right? He left. And I did pick him up and I put him in the little bin, the little coffin, I guess, that I created for him. And I still took him to the vet. I was like, it's okay, buddy, you're not alone. Like, this whole thing. Took him to the vet. I said, okay, he's not around. He left. And I was crying. And she's like, well, it's so sweet. Thank you. They're going to cremate him. Then I got stressed because I was like, now I've interfered with nature. And I said to the woman, I said, now I feel bad. Like maybe a hawk needed him as a meal. She said, well, no, you don't know. He came to you for a reason. And, maybe he was really sick because he had no visible injuries. She's like, maybe he had a disease. And then if the hawk had eaten it, it would have hurt the hawk. And I was like, okay, thank you. Bunnies die. We have bunnies everywhere here. And I'm sure they pass away all the time. But, what I was thinking of, and I called John, he was so supportive this whole time. I felt so connected to John. And this bunny, I was like, John, he came to us. Like, he wanted to be at our house in our driveway with us. Like, that was a choice. I don't think that was an accident. I don't know why, but he could have been in any bush under any tree, but he came out of that to come across the little road and to be in our driveway. And I'm like, I see that. I recognize that. But I didn't know anymore. So then because I had extra time before my appointment. So I head to this smoothie place that I'd heard about. I'm going to get a smoothie. And right as I walk in, there's this woman who is selling these little succulents. And the succulents, I said, oh, tell me about these. She said, well, I make these pots by myself out of concrete and they're beautiful. And she's like, then I plant the succulents. And I was like, I have to have one. I am buying this plant to commemorate our bunny. Like, this is his memory that I'm taking. So I bought this succulent, which turned out to be the only reason I went there because the smoothie was whack. I was like, what the F is this? This is terrible. I was unimpressed. But I was not upset about that because, then we have this plant for the bunny. After that, I headed to my next appointment, which was reflexology, which is, of course, beautiful, right? It's beautiful healing work. And I know this woman, Amy, so well, and she's so intuitive, and so we're tuned into each other. She's like, how are you? I'm like, I've had a hard morning. And I just got on the table, and it was such a way for me to decompress. And I kind of just started like therapy sharing with her. And I told her the story of the bunny and how, God, I just loved this little bunny so much. And then later, I was telling her about, like, also that morning I had a session, like kind of like an emergency session. Like when you work with me, we do our weekly sessions, but then you get to like phone a friend, like I need to work through something now session. So I had one of those that morning, which was also kind of intense and emotional with my client. And we did this exercise where we went in and experienced compassion and seeing someone else through those eyes that there was like some resistance with. And so we were playing with it and she's like, wow, this like really feels different. So I'd had that experience with her. Then I had this pure compassion for this bunny. Well, then I was telling Amy about a relationship in my life that just the day before I had realized, oh my gosh, I am holding this person in my life that I care deeply about in judgment, in criticism, and in resistance. I'm holding them separate from me, right? What did I start this episode with? Integrated, right? We're all connected, all these little things that are not separate. I'm holding this person in judgment because they're not seeing things the same way I do. And I'm criticizing them and then looking for all these wrong things. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I finally realized that just the day before, Tuesday. And I declared, I'm like, I'm done with this. Like, I am choosing to see this person now with love and compassion, not with criticism and judgment, because that doesn't help anything. We can't criticize people to effective changes or shifts. It just doesn't work. Like, it might make changes. And this goes with how you treat yourself as well. Like, being critical of yourself may guilt or shame you into doing something, but I don't think it actually affects meaningful change. I don't think it gets us the true desired result. Then they're just doing something out of fear, right? Well, you might be able to see some connection to what's going on in the world right now, right? We do things out of fear versus truly out of our own sovereignty and our own alignment. I don't believe in shaming, guilting, or scaring people into doing stuff. I think it's bullshit. I really do. And here I was holding this person in my life in that same level of, criticism, negativity. I was like, this feels horrible. Now I know. So now once you know, you can choose, right? That's the beauty. So I was choosing. I wanted to see this person compassion. And lo and behold, that was Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, I had this call with the client, the emergency call. We had to talk about compassion. I didn't realize this until I was processing all of this out reflexology, okay? And then I was like, okay, then I get this bunny, the passing of this bunny. I experienced pure compassion. My heart was lit up for this bunny. And then I'm sharing this whole story with Amy about the seemingly separate story about needing to see this person in my life with compassion. And she said, Dana, maybe you just needed to experience it so that you could see them in compassion effortlessly. And in fact, maybe the passing of this bunny was a letting go of that part of your relationship that you had been up against. And now you can see through compassion. And I was like, mic drop. Holy shit. Yeah, Amy, this makes so much sense. And all of a sudden, like the intensity of the last just 48 hours, it all came into focus. And the crazy thing too was with John, I felt so aligned with him that morning. Like for him, sometimes with the two of us, and you may experience this with your partners, is like when you have to like get up in the morning and like activate really quickly and you're like kind of hustling, sometimes it can end up being really stressful and you're like at each other a little bit and it's like, oh, let's just get this done with. But instead, for some reason that morning, he and I were in sync and I felt super supported by him. I felt super seen by him. I felt super connected to him. Like this bunny also bonded John and me in a different way. Just that moment. And then it helped heal this other, release this other piece. It helped me see through pure compassion. The mind, we can't think compassion. We can think compassionate thoughts. We can think, I love you. But to actually experience it from within, I was talking to someone about this the other day. It's like, I can only imagine when you're a mother and you have your baby and you look at your baby for that first time, you're holding the baby, that's pure compassion emanating from you. You're not thinking, I love you, baby. No, you're like, whoa. It's a full body experience. And that's possible even without a new baby. We can see each other through those eyes, especially the relationships that you care about. You don't want to criticize your way into change. We can love our way into change. I know that sounds a little, 60s, but fuck it. Excuse my language. We can. So, the bunny. It brought all of these pieces together. And so then I come home from reflexology and I am sapped. Like, I need to be done, like to crawl into bed. But I have animal spirit cards. And I was like, I need to know what the bunny represents. So let me read this to you. So the main message of rabbit is fear. I just think I can see so many connections. I don't need to share all of them, but it's like when I saw that, I really understood. And there's this little poem that says, Sacred little rabbit, please drop your fright. Running doesn't stop the pain or turn the dark to light. There's this whole story of the rabbit, and I won't read it all to you, but this book called Animal Medicine Cards by Jamie Sams and David Carson. If you're interested at all, I think that animal medicine is a really good way to step into this world. It's like, I think oracle cards can overwhelm people sometimes, and they're like, this, I don't need this. What is this? I just see them as another way that your inner voice can communicate to you. It's like you're pulling the cards, or someone's pulling the cards on your behalf, but they're tuned into your energy, right? And so pulling cards, or, more directly, is if you experience an animal in nature, or like say you're suddenly seeing hawks everywhere, or you see owls, rather they're physical owls out in nature, which would be bomb if you're seeing owls everywhere, or you're seeing owl symbols everywhere. Whatever it is, there's all these beautiful animals. And like, you cannot tell me we're not connected to nature. Come on. So as we experience this, why not take a little peek? Like, okay, well, what's going on here? It doesn't hurt you. You don't have to accept the messages. But I think it's nice because we see things in our physical world all the time, and we dismiss them. We write them off. We ignore them. We don't really see them. So I think these animal cards are such a fun way, and I'll put the link, I think they're on Amazon. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can, if you want to look them up. But why not tune in a little bit more? Like, that's all we're doing. We're fine tuning. We're shifting from pure mind all the time. And we're shifting into like, where's the greater connection? Where are all the little threads? We're all in this spider web. What is this showing me? What is this pointing me to? What is this illuminating for me? Sometimes often, we don't stop and ask those questions. We just see things and we move on. We think like, oh shit, a bunny died. That sucked. Or maybe you don't even care that you're like, I don't know, the bunny died. Bunnies die all the time. It's just a bunny. They're everywhere. To pause and to say, what am I meant to see from all of this? What am I meant to experience? Why me? Like, why now this morning, this bunny? And not in a helpless way, but in a way of curiosity. Those are the kind of questions that allow us to go deeper and explore. That's all we're doing. We're exploring. We're asking, hey, nature, you're pretty freaking wise. What do I need to know? Inner voice, you're guiding me constantly to see, right? How many times have you been in a building and then for the first time you look at the ceiling and it's gorgeous? You're like, how have I never seen that ceiling? We don't see everything that we see. We don't register everything that we process. So I believe that when something's registering in our physical world, it's something for us to look at. So the bunny, here's the lesson. If you pulled rabbit, stop talking about horrible things happening and get rid of what if in your vocabulary. This card may signal a time of worry about the future or trying to exercise your control over that which is not yet in form, the future. Stop now. Write your fears down and be willing to feel them. Breathe into them and feel them running through your body into Mother Earth as a giveaway. Then there's also a few other messages. The paralyzed feeling, which rabbit experiences when being stalked, is rabbit in the contrary. If you have tried to resolve a situation in your life and are unable to, you may be feeling frozen in motion. This could indicate a time to wait for the forces of the universe to start moving again. It could also indicate the need to stop and take a rest. It will always indicate a time when you need to reevaluate the process you are undergoing and rid yourself of any negative feelings, barriers, or duress. Simply put, you cannot have your influence felt until you rearrange your way of seeing the present set of circumstances. Rearrange your way of seeing the present set of circumstances. How can I see this differently? That is such a beautiful question. How can I see this differently? There's always a way out of any situation because the universal force does move on. It is the way in which you handle problems that allows you to succeed. Take a hint from Rabbit. Burrow into a safe space to nurture yourself and release your fears until it is time again to move into the pasture, clear of prowlers who want a piece of your juicy energy. Rabbit. One little thing in my energy field, this little bunny that impacted me so deeply, I didn't know how deeply it even impacted me in the moment until I took the space and time to reflect and have it reflected back to me. What did I need to see? What was this guiding me toward? What is the message? What can I take away? What can I release? Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful that I have this beautiful plant for the bunny on my dining room table now. And before I go, that's this week's episode. So thanks for listening. I'm going on a trip. So you'll be listening to this on Wednesday. I'm not telling you where yet. I am heading away for 11 days by myself. Well, not actually by myself, but John isn't joining me on this trip. And next week, I'm teasing you, on next week's episode, we are going to talk about how this freaking trip unfolded in the most magical way. Like, this was like a microdose today of these like universal flows. Oh my gosh. This trip that I am going on, it was like, I had to go on this trip. Like, I didn't mentally think, I want to go to this place. I want to do this trip. I want to get away. It was like, you're doing this. Here. This is easy. This is flowy. This is cheap. This is fun. And I was just totally guided. My inner voice, the universe, all that is conspired to take me here. So next week on the Tuning In podcast, episode number 82 will release on Wednesday, the 14th of April. I will be gone out of town, and you will get to hear where I'm at and how the heck I decided to go there. With that, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you tune in to the magic and flow and the synchronicities in your own life. And if you're curious to know more about the medicine cards, we'll put the link in the bio, or you can always just send me a DM and I will send you the link. Have a beautiful week. I will see you next time. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tuning In podcast. As always, if this would resonate with anyone you know, please share the episode. You can follow along with my journey on Instagram at Dana_Evans, or find me on my website at alignful.com.